S3 Archery, and this is the first video we're going to shoot in a little mini-series on crafting wood arrows. And in this segment we're going to kind of discuss initial thoughts and recommendations we have on ordering up wood shafts, and then once those shafts arrive, what you need to do to get yourself ready to make the best arrows you can. And so, first thing we wanted to kind of cover is the different types of wood out there and what we ended up doing. And so when you search the internet, you're going to find that there's four main ones that are available out there. There's POC, there's Western Larch, also known as Tamarack, and then there's Sitka Spruce and Douglas Fir. For this video, we ended up ordering 24 premium arrows from S3 Archery, and they specialize in POC. We ended up getting 70-75 spine, 23-64 diameter, and the reason that we did that is because Joe's had previous experience and he knows what he wants. If you've never ordered wood arrows or ever tried arrows before, we definitely recommend getting a test kit from one of the distributors that's out there. The reason for this is you want to have kind of a sweet spot as far as the arrow length, and if you don't know what spine you need and you have to cut it down to stiffen it up, now that arrow becomes too short and it's no longer usable. So once you know what you need, we recommend definitely getting 2 dozen, and the reason that we recommend 2 dozen or even more potentially is that some of the arrows you get aren't going to be quite as premium as the other ones, and so you're going to find that there's a little bit of a range difference as far as weight and quality even within the same order. If the company you're ordering from offers weight sorted ones, definitely we recommend doing that, just because that's going to help tighten that up and give you less of those outliers which are going to potentially affect performance, as well as maybe you're just not going to use them. And so here we ended up getting a total of actually 36 arrows from them. We got 24 of the premium sorted ones, and then we also got 12 that were not sorted. Out of those 24 that we got, we ended up having them put a knock taper on it just because it wasn't too much more expensive and it saved us a little step and got it nice and straight. And so once we've got the arrows in hand, what we want to end up doing is we want to check the grain pattern and make sure that most of them have a grain that runs from one end to the other. We don't want a lot where the grain is popping out on one side or the other. If that is the case, those ones, as well as any that we find with a minor defect, we're going to put in one pile, and we're going to keep the nicer ones with the straight grain separate. Those ones are going to be our hunting and our target ones. The ones that are maybe a little bit of a defect are going to become our stumping arrows. If there's any that have a major defect though, throw them away. One thing that can happen with wood arrows is that potentially when you shoot them, they can split because of the force of the bow, and you don't want that to happen. It's a risk that's inherent in shooting wood arrows, but we want to try to minimize that. At $2 to $3 a shot for the most part, you definitely don't want to risk shooting an arrow that from the beginning you're concerned about. You don't want to put fletching and the time into it either. And so after you've got them sorted, you've got them kind of in the piles that you think are going to be good, then what we like to do is we like to throw them on a grain scale, because we want to make sure that our arrows are as tight as we can tolerance-wise. We weigh our arrows about 3 to 5 times, and so we're just going to set it on the grain scale, make sure it's not touching on either end, pick it up, and do that several times, and then we're going to mark on the end of each arrow how much that arrow weighed. And so here I'm reading 451, and so then right on the end I just write 451, and I set that off to the side. I'm going to do that for every one of these arrows here, and then once I have them all weighed within the groupings of my premium as well as the stumping ones, we're going to end up putting them as tight together as we can. We like to shoot for 10 grains from high to low, and then that'll be a batch. We'll mark those off. You might find out of 24 that you've got 18 that fall within there, you might have less. Within the premium ones, when we weighed them, we had a 20 grain difference from high to low. Out of the 12 that we got that were not premium, we had over 68 grain difference. And so definitely for the short amount of money that it kind of costs you to get the premium ones if available, it's worth it. But don't cut the step out of weighing them yourself, because once the knock is cut, it might affect that weight, and you're going to find that if you have a couple of groups, you can make them together and you're going to shoot a lot more accurately. So once we've got them all weighed, we're going to put them on a spinner, because we want to make sure that our arrows are as straight as we can before we move to the next step. And so we're going to look on both ends, and as we spin it, you'll notice there's a wobble on this end here. And so we want to take out any wobble that we can in this step, because down the road it's going to be a lot more difficult to do what we need to with an arrow that's not quite straight. As far as straightening goes, easiest thing you can do is just look down it, find where that bend is, use the heel of your hand, and kind of push the opposite direction, do that a couple of times until you get it as good as you can. And some arrows you won't be able to straighten very easily, but there's rollers and other things you can do to make that straight. And in a separate video Joe's going to shoot, he's going to kind of highlight one of the rollers that he likes to use for his wood arrows and go through some of the tips with that one. So once we've got them as straight as we can, we're going to throw them back on here. This one still needs a little bit of work, you can see, but for each one, get them as straight as you can. Then in the next video, we're going to go through prepping for staining, staining if you choose to, and then dipping them. We use the gasket lacquer system, and so that's what we're going to highlight here, but the dip regular system that you drip dry, that works just as well. It's just not our preference. So stay tuned for the next section we'll have posted here very soon.